5 RV tips you should know before you go. We'll start with tires. Tip number 1, tires. I swapped out my tires for Goodyear Endurance tires. I had about 1,000 miles on my other tires. What comes on this is Westlake's. The Westlake's, I didn't have nothing bad about those tires. I had good luck with them. The only thing is they don't ride as smooth as these Goodyear Endurance. They have the same load rating on them. They're load rating E. The only difference on them is these are a higher quality tire. Made in the USA. The other ones are made in China. And these ones are a speed rating of 87 miles an hour. The Westlake's are a speed rating of 75 miles an hour. And these are rides so much quieter and a lot nicer, smoother ride. Tire pressure is key. Make sure you have the right tire pressure in them. These are 80 psi. I run about 75 psi in them. And then I don't run when it's super hot out either. If it gets super hot, I just stop for the day. We don't keep running. And the other thing is, when I'm traveling down the road, I only do 65 miles an hour. If the speed limit's 70, I only do 65. What kills tires is heat. Heat and low air pressure kills tires. Tip number 2 is lug nuts. Make sure your lug nuts are torqued. Make sure they're torqued to the right spec. Tip number 3. I always do a walk around and look at your springs, your spring shackles, spring mounts, all of it. Just look at it, just do a visual. You don't have to be a mechanic to do this. Just look at it. If something looks funny, obviously there's probably something wrong. Always just do a visual on it, look at it, make sure it looks good. Another thing I want to do, tip number 4, is this is something you should always know. Underneath here, on your axle, there's going to be a tag on your axle. You should take a picture of your tag on your axle. It's got all the specs on it. So if you ever need any axle parts, including springs, as long as you've got this tag and the model and make of your rig, you should be able to find axles, brakes, spring shackles, springs, all of it. Because over time you will break a spring, break a spring mount. It happens. Number 5. Here's number 5. This is the big one here. Alright, you should always know how to get your spare down. You should always know where your tool is. I keep mine in the front of the camper. And you should always know how to get your spare down. Okay, this one here, it slides right through here, and then it goes on and connects right there, and then you can drop your spare down. And another thing you should know about your spare, and then it just cranks down. Another thing you should know about your spare is always, when you check the air pressure in your tires on the rig, always check the tire pressure in your spare to make sure it's good to go. So when you go to use it, it's not flat. Alright, so that wraps up your 5 tips. And always do a walk around. It's huge. Make sure every time you stop, and if you think something's wrong, something probably is wrong. It takes nothing to pull over and just look at it. Just get off the road and take a look at your rig.